Marcy, Skylight, Gray, Cliff, and Redfield done. Now the long walk back to the lodge. 3:55 a.m., just signed in, Santanoni Range, let's go. The wind is whipping here in the Seward Range today. Just finished the Macomb slide and my legs are on fire. Well, I fell victim to the floating logs again. Made it to the top of East Dix, peak number 3 of 5 for today here in the Dix Range. Avalanche Pass. On top of Rocky Peak Bridge, it's like a hurricane up here. Rain and wind here on Tabletop. Whiteface, number 6. Muddy day here on Street and Nye for number 7 and 8. Sunny and blue on Haystack. Algonquin, up in the clouds, number 18. Gothics, number 22. Panther, number 38. Allen, number 45. 7:12 a.m. Big Slide, Adirondack 46er. You're listening to the 46 of 46 podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 46 of 46 podcast. It is July, and it is just the best time of the year. I'm recording right now in shed quarters here at the home of the 46 of 46 podcast, and the thunder is just slamming outside, and I just caught a nice crack of lightning as well. We've got the storm brewing right now, but this weekend is going to be fantastic. However, we've had a nice stretch of weather lately in the ADK. I don't know if you've been able to get up here, but it has been, for the most part, an absolutely phenomenal start to the summer in terms of the weather. Can't ask for much better. It is the best time of the year to be in the Adirondack Park. So I hope you've got some plans to get up north or south, depending on where you're coming from. Though most of you come from the south and go north. But now is the time to get to the Adirondacks and enjoy the beauty that this place is. The green grass, the green trees, the mountains looking lush, the blue sky, the lakes. It just doesn't get any better. I just love the summer. And speaking of summer, today's episode is all about the summer. Today will be the 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer, the 2024 edition. Last year I did an episode just like this, and now this is my list of 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer that will give you the greatest experience, the quintessential Adirondack experience, so that you leave here fulfilled and like you got the full ADK experience top to bottom. So in this episode, I'm going to go through all of that, just me on the microphone, take notes, or you can go onto my Instagram page and screenshot a picture. This will be on there too, listing everything that I say right here in this episode. But let's get right into it. There's no reason to wait because summer is here. And as we know, summer is gone quickly, so we got to take advantage of it now. So this is the official 2024 version of James's 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer. 2024, here we go. Some different things from last year and some quintessential Adirondack things. It's going to be a great time. If you come up here for a weekend, I should also say, and you do all 10 of these things, which is very doable, you will leave here absolutely fulfilled, and this will become one of the best weekends of the year, if not the best weekend of the year. I can assure you of that. But let's get started. Number 1 on my 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer 2024. Paddle or ride in a boat on an Adirondack body of water. It seems simple, but man, what an amazing experience it is to get out on the water. You know, there's over 3,000 lakes and ponds and thousands of miles of rivers and streams here in the Adirondacks from top to bottom. And, you know, with this podcast, there's definitely more of a hiking crowd that listens to it. But, you know, as many of you know, when you do a lot of hiking, you probably also do a lot of paddling because we just love being outdoors and love being in nature. So those things tend to crisscross, but I would say that the paddling world here in the ADK is just as big and just as popular as hiking. So if you are a hiker and you don't really do much paddling, I would like to encourage you to give that a go this year. And, you know, on my list, it's paddle or ride in a boat. So if you have an opportunity to go in a boat, that's all that matters. Just get out on the water here in the ADK this summer, whether it's a river, whether it's going whitewater rafting, you know, in kind of the southern Adirondack region, or you're just going on a nice boat ride in Lake Placid, or, you know, paddling, you know, on a pond somewhere. I highly recommend getting in a boat, get on the body of water. You will not regret it. And there's guidebooks all about paddling in the ADK, just like you have your map to go climb mountains. There's guidebooks all about the paddling world. So you could pick those up at pretty much any outdoor store all around the park. Moving forward, you guessed it, hike an Adirondack mountain. Of course, we're going to hike an Adirondack mountain this summer. Whether it's a high peak or it's a small peak, doesn't make a difference. Go on a trail and summit a mountain, because that's what we do. That's what we like to do. And that ultimately, well, paddling is big, as I mentioned before, but we all know that hiking mountains is the main attraction here in the Adirondack Park. And again, you can do it all over the place. And I will say too, on this list, you can pretty much do this entire list regardless of kind of which area in the park that you settle upon. So if you're going to the southern ADK for a weekend, or you're coming here where I live in the High Peaks region, or you're going to, the Old Forge and Inlet area, it doesn't really make a difference. You can pretty much do every single thing on this list for the most part, no matter where you're going. There is a couple things that are location specific, but I'll get to that. But anyways, hike a mountain. And I'm sure for most of you listening, that will not be a problem, because you're probably coming up here to do that anyways. Moving on, number 3, one of my personal favorites. Eat an ice cream cone from an Adirondack ice cream stand. Yes. Is it really summer if you're not having an ice cream cone? It is the time. And no, Stewart's does not count. That post hiking Stewart's milkshake does not count. I want you to go to a seasonal Adirondack ice cream stand. We've got them all over the park. You've got the ultimate, which is, in my opinion, Donnelly's ice cream, which is out in Lake Clear, kind of the Saranac Lake region, or Saranac Lake area in Lake Clear. To me, it's the absolutely best ice cream that planet Earth has ever experienced. The ice cream machine is from like the 1940s, I believe. Personally, I'm kind of an ice cream snob. I feel like most soft serve ice cream stands are all just serving the exact same product. However, Donnelly's is drastically different because they have a different machine. The products that they're putting in, the dairy that they're using is very different, and it has a very different consistency from your everyday soft serve ice cream. It is a must. And it's this like little stand on the side of the road, little shack that you don't think much of, but it is an absolute staple. It's a part of culture up here in the High Peaks region. That is indefinite. But there's so many little ice cream stands around the ADK. You've got Benny's Ice Cream in Old Forge. You've got Custard's Last Stand in Long Lake, which I went to last summer. Then you got, let's see, what else? Over in Wilmington, you've got the, what's it called? The White Brook Dairy Bar in Wilmington. Again, that's a seasonal ice cream stand. You got Skyline Ice Cream over in Tupper Lake, where you can get other stuff too. And a lot of these places too, it's like, it's your typical ice cream stand / burger and fries type of thing. But, they're only open in the summer. They're all seasonal. Although Donnelly's only serves ice cream and they only have one flavor. So you go in there, you tell them what size you want, and that is the only decision you have to make. Can't really beat it. Then you've also got the Pine Cone over in Raybrook, which is across the street from Tail of the Pup. A lot of people like Tail of the Pup. Who doesn't like some good smoked barbecue? I certainly do. Then also over in Inlet, you've got Northern Lights Creamery. I've heard a lot of people talk about that place often. And I'm willing to bet there's a lot of you listening right now that are like, when is James going to talk about Martha's Dandy Cream? Well, I'll tell you when I'm going to talk about it. Never. Because Martha's Dandy Cream ain't in the Blue Line. It is not in the Adirondack Park. It is in Queensbury, which is not a part of the Adirondack Park. So in my mind, on my list, Martha's Dandy Creamery does not make the cut. It is not an Adirondack ice cream stand. Okay, now that I technically got that out there. However, if you're in the Lake George region, yes, go to Martha's Dandy Creamery, because it is a fantastic spot. And it's without doubt serving the biggest ice cream cones that you've ever seen in your life. It's a cool spot. Highly recommend. whenever we go to Lake George, we'll go get the kids an ice cream there. It's fantastic. And again, you can get food and lots of stuff there too, but they're definitely known for their ice cream. So check that out. But I will say it's not in the Adirondack Park, so it doesn't quite make the list, but we'll call it a runner-up in terms of places that you can go. And then there's, around the Adirondack region, just maybe outside of the park, there's some other cool spots too. But yes, eat an ice cream cone from an Adirondack ice cream stand. That is number 3 on my 10 things to do in the Adirondacks Summer 2024 edition. Moving forward, visit an Adirondack museum. There are many of them, and they're all amazing spots. You've got the Adirondack Museum in Elizabethtown. You've got the Adirondack Experience Museum in Blue Mountain Lake. There's the Lake Placid Museum over at the railroad station here in Lake Placid. I highly recommend going to any of them or all of them. If you like ADK history, you like knowing about what these places are like and kind of how they came to be. I've talked a lot about it on the podcast ever since I first went there 2 summers ago to the Adirondack Experience Museum. It's just an absolutely awesome spot. That's my big recommendation over in Blue Mountain Lake. It is worth an entire day going to that museum. You could also check off a lot of these boxes over in Blue Mountain Lake that are on this list. But I do highly recommend spending a day going out there. And then you could also basically go across the street and hike Blue Mountain, which is just short of a high peak. So it's a nice substantial hike as well. And there's a fire tower on top. But yes, go visit an Adirondack museum. Number 4 on my 10 things to do in the ADK this summer. Moving on, number 5 on my 10 things to do in the Adirondack Summer 2024. Walk or bike on the new Adirondack Rail Trail. So you may have no idea what I'm talking about, or you may have heard about this. Basically, railroad tracks around this area, at least, have been taken up and turned into a rail trail. Pavement in some areas or just kind of gravel in others, but it's for walking and biking. It's been a big hit here in town. I was a little disappointed to see the tracks go, because I really like railroad history. If you know me personally, I'm like really into that sort of thing. But if the railroad tracks were never going to be used to have actual trains going on, then I said, okay, cool. What can we use the land for that will benefit other people and benefit us then? Okay, what are we going to use it for? Great, cool. We have this rail trail. So the railroad tracks between Lake Placid and Saranac Lake, which is the rail trail where it currently is currently completed. So you can walk the railroad tracks from Lake Placid from the Lake Placid Museum, where you could check off that number 4 item, visit an Adirondack Museum. Then you can walk the rail trail, and you could go all the way to Saranac Lake, all the way to the Saranac Lake Railroad Station. So once again, check it out. And also too, I definitely recommend rent yourself a bike. You can rent bikes to ride on the rail trail right at the start in Lake Placid, it's called Bike Lake Placid. So you can rent a bike there. I know you can rent bikes at other bike shops around Lake Placid. High Peak Cycler, you can rent bikes. I'm not sure if Placid Planet in Lake Placid rents bikes. I probably should have looked that up beforehand, but I'm willing to bet they probably do, especially now given the popularity of the rail trail. It's basically I think it's like 10 miles of railroad, and it just goes back in the woods. It's a cool spot. Highly recommend it. Check out the rail trail. And then I don't remember when it's exactly going to be done, but there's going to be a part of the trail from basically Saranac Lake to Tupper Lake, and then eventually Tupper Lake to Long Lake. So I don't know what the time frame is like on when the whole thing will be completed, but last summer, Lake Placid to Saranac Lake was completed. But eventually, you should be able to walk/bike the railroad from Lake Placid to Long Lake, which will be super cool in and of itself. That would be a fun little adventure, a little bike packing trip. Come out in each town, ride your bike to go get yourself a burger, then hop back on the rail trail and keep going. Wouldn't that be fun? Awesome time to do it. But all right, moving on. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, number 6 on the 10 things to do in the Adirondacks summer 2024. Go camping in the Adirondacks, whether that's in a tent, whether that's in a camper, an RV, or even a cabin in the woods, because I'll still give you that. Go camping in the Adirondack Park. Get out into the woods. There's hundreds of lean-tos in the Adirondacks. There's probably, I don't know exactly the amount of the full number of campsites in the Adirondack Park. I mean, there's thousands of them when you talk about the different campgrounds and how many sites they have. But camping, you all know what it is. Go camping this summer somewhere, whether it's a tent, whether it's in an RV or your camper, it doesn't make a difference. Go sleep in the woods under the stars and enjoy that fresh mountain air, especially in the morning. Nothing really beats when you wake up in the woods and you step outside, or you're already in the woods and you step out of your tent or out of the lean-to, and that fresh morning air, you hear the sound of the loon on the lake. It just can't be beaten. Even me, I live in Lake Placid, and I walk out in the morning, and it's like half that smell. It's still, I live, tucked away in a little neighborhood up here in the woods, and it still doesn't quite match that smell and that vibe when you're actually like in a lean-to, or you're in a tent somewhere in the woods, or even in a campground. It's always great. Go camping this summer. You won't regret it. Moving on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Moving on to number 6. Shoot, did I say 5 was last time? I don't remember. All right, moving on to number 6. I should have numbered these. I just have them written out as bullet points. But number 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, number 7. I swear I should have put numbers on this, but that's okay. Number 7, swim in an Adirondack body of water, whether it's a lake or whether it's a river or a pond. But what's really the difference? It doesn't matter at all. Go swimming this summer. Nothing beats that smell and that kind of taste when you dunk your head underneath a river or a lake here in the ADK. It's hard to match. It's also hard to describe, but you know it when you do it. There's so many times where I'd be gone. I grew up in the ADK, so swimming in the lakes, swimming in rivers. Personally, swimming in rivers has always been my favorite body of water of choice. There's so many different spots growing up that we would go to jump off the rocks into the rivers. The Flume in Wilmington. These are all these places are, as an adult now, I look at how dangerous all these places are. What as a kid is like, it didn't make a difference. You just did it. So what different times here, but the Flume, a place called Champagne Falls, although I don't know if that's actually what the name was in Keene. However, that's on private property, so I think it's since been roped off. But we used to go there as kids all the time. There's Split Rock, which is pretty much like right as you get off the Northway over at that Dysfunction Junction spot. It's just kind of right around there. That's just like, those are just a few. Then there's other spots all around Lake Placid, the lake, just different places to jump into rivers, jump into lakes off of huge boulders and whatnot. But if I was gone for, years at a time, and then I would come back to the ADK and just go dunk my head in the river, like, it's weird. The second my head would go under the water, it's like a nostalgic feeling where that's right, that smell, that taste. I think smell also is the most nostalgic of the 5 senses. I do believe that kind of triggers something in your brain more than anything else, is smell, more than any of the other senses. So it's not surprising, but I'll tell you, the second your head goes under the water, you just feel and taste that very unique smell. Can't get enough of it. But yeah, go swimming. Jump in the body of water. Nothing's better also after a long day on the trail than to just sit your body down into a river. Take your shoes off, sit down, dunk your head, just enjoy what it is. If any of you are hiking the Northville Placid Trail, you'll probably jump in a lake at the end of every single day, which is kind of the beauty of hiking the Northville Placid Trail when you're backpacking back there. That's, a lot of times in the ADK, we're bagging peaks, right? We're climbing mountains, but when you hike the Northville Placid Trail, it's the bodies of water that are like the summits. Like, that's the big aha, big like whoa moment, or all the different bodies of water. So if you are backpacking the NPT, you'll be doing this pretty much every night, and I commend you for it. Moving on, number 8 on my 10 things to do in the Adirondacks summer 2024. Explore an Adirondack town or an area of the park that you've never visited before. We get so stuck on going to the places that we're used to going to. So I live in the High Peaks region. So pretty much most of my exploration and most of my outdoor recreation is in this general neck of the woods. But there are entire different parts of the park that have entirely different vibes. You go over to Old Forge and Inlet, they have their own vibe. You go down to Northville, that has its own vibe. The Lake George region has its own vibe. The High Peaks region here. Even go to Speculator, slightly north of that area, and it has its own vibe even then. So there's all these different areas to explore. Oh, out in Indian Lake, and that kind of Indian Lake, that region out there. And then you have Star Lake and Cranberry Lake. There's just so many different areas of the park. So I encourage you to explore somewhere new, whether that means going to hike a mountain in a new place that you haven't been, or going to go camping in a new place you haven't been. Man, you could check off a lot of these items, right? In one trip. I did that on purpose. But also there's just so many areas. So I do encourage you to explore somewhere new. Don't just go to the same spot. So a lot of Western New York people, you tend to gravitate to Old Forge. A lot of the New York City people, you tend to gravitate towards the High Peaks region. It's usually just because of geography. But I encourage you to go explore some new towns, new areas. There's different places have restaurants. They have places you can stay. They have campgrounds. They have things to do. So I encourage you to check out something new. Moving on, as the rain comes pummeling down, I just saw a nice crash of lightning in the sky above me. That was cool because I could actually see it from where I'm sitting right now. Yeah, the storm is here. But this summer or this weekend, it's going to be fantastic. So that's all right. Moving on, though, number 9, pick up a piece of trash off the trail or a road. Yes, it is up to us as people to keep the Adirondacks pure and clean. Sure, I get it. It's not your trash. You didn't throw it there, but the ADK park deserves the best. And sometimes we do things for the love of the park beyond the love of ourselves. So we do it because the park is bigger than us and it deserves that. So pick up a piece of trash off the trail or off the road. Check that box because you did it. That was number 9 on my 10 things to do in the Adirondack summer 2024. And number 10, the 10th thing to do in the ADK this summer, try a new to you outdoors activity. We do a lot of hiking, right? Try something new. There's so many things that you can do. Hiking, paddling, rock climbing, mountain biking. You could try whitewater rafting. You hire a guide. A lot of outfitters around the park where you can rent boats. You could, or just go on a guiding trip where they provide everything. Lot of different choices and different places to go. But yeah, I tried a new to you outdoors activity. There's really a never ending amount of things to do. And the more that you do, the more fun you find, in the outdoors. Never done any fishing? Cool. Go fishing. There's just an unbelievable amount of opportunity here. So I encourage you to try something new, step outside your comfort zone, because I'm willing to bet you'll probably quickly fall in love with yet another outdoors hobby. And then you'll start spending more money on pursuing that. And now you're buying a boat and a paddle, or now you're buying some fishing rods, or now you're buying a new mountain bike. And the outdoors obsessions just continue to spiral out of control. But hey, they bring us joy and fulfillment, right? So that's why we do it. But that's going to wrap up my 10 things to do in the Adirondacks summer 2024. Let me go back through it. 1, paddle or ride in a boat on an ADK body of water. 2, hike an Adirondack mountain. 3, eat a cone from an Adirondack ice cream stand. 4, visit an Adirondack museum. 5, walk or bike on the new Adirondack rail trail. 6, go camping in the ADK, whether it's in a tent, a camper, a cabin, or an RV, doesn't matter. Go camping. Number 7, swim in an Adirondack body of water. 8, explore an Adirondack town or area that you've never visited before. 9, pick up a piece of trash off the trail or the road because the park deserves it. And number 10 on my 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer, try a new to you outdoors activity. That will do it on this episode of the 46 of 46 podcast. Head over to my Instagram page at 46 of 46 podcast and you can screenshot this checklist. I'm telling you, if you're coming up for a weekend or a week and you check off all of these boxes, you are going to leave fulfilled and knowing that you had the quintessential Adirondack experience and you squeezed every ounce of juice out of it. You will not regret it. I can guarantee you that. But that'll do it. Head over to my website, 46outdoors.com. We have lots of guided hikes happening this summer. If you're looking for a guide for your own hike, feel free to reach out to me and see if we'll see if my availability matches up with what you're needing. But I have lots of guided group hike offerings this summer where we're going to get a group of people together and we're going to go up different mountains and have a good old time. There's other things that I offer on my website, from an ebook to how to climb the 46 high peaks to training programs to make sure you're physically fit and ready to rock and roll to go hike some mountains. You can check out my book, Adirondack Campfire Stories, which is a perfect read while you're having that night camping in the Adirondacks, right? Around the campfire, what's better than a nice Adirondack campfire stories? That book is available at 46outdoors.com or on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your books. But that'll do it. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 46 of 46 podcast, 46outdoors.com. Check it out. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at 46 of 46 podcast, and check back on Fridays for new mountains, new stories, new guests, and new episodes right here on the 46 of 46 podcast. Remember to always leave no trace, do the rock walk, and if you carry it in, carry it out. Enjoy your Adirondack adventure this summer. See you on the trails. Are you dreaming of summiting the Adirondack high peaks, but you worry your fitness level might not be up to the challenge? Well, you are not alone. I have been there before. I know what it's like to turn around climbing a high peak. I once turned around on Big Slide, but then I've also hiked the Great Range Traverse, so things can change. And I know many people dream of climbing high peaks, but they face the roadblock of not feeling physically prepared for the challenge. That, my friends, is where Great Range Athlete Training Programs step in. Great Range Athlete Training Programs are your guide to getting trail ready. Yes, these programs are strategically designed to get you in mountain shape by focusing on the very muscles and endurance you'll need when you're on the trails. Hiking's a lot more fun when you're physically prepared for the climb, am I right? With Great Range Athlete Training Programs, you'll engage in strength training that targets crucial hiking muscles and complete trail-specific conditioning routines that mirrors the cardiovascular demands of climbing mountains. You know, your training should reflect your goals. So if your goals are to climb mountains, well, now you have training programs to get you there. And I'm not just getting you to the summit. No, I want you to enjoy every single step of the journey up and down. And then when you get back to the trailhead, I don't want you asking for your car or wondering when you're going to go get your Stewart's milkshake. No, I want you wondering what's next because you got down ready for more. So don't let fitness fears keep you from the trails. Not anymore. With Great Range Athlete Training Programs, you'll transform those concerns into confidence. You'll be more than just prepared, but you will be ready for the adventure, ready for the challenges of the high peaks, and ready to experience the magic of the Adirondack Mountains firsthand. So go visit 46outdoors.com to start your Great Range Athlete journey so you can arrive at the trailhead with complete confidence that you'll not only make it to the summits, but you'll make it back and you'll do it with ease. Head over to 46outdoors.com and choose your program now.